In this video, I'm going to talk about what it's like to be somebody who travels on their own, who's single, who does their own thing. I'm just going to discuss my experience of it and how I find it and how that's been, and how it actually works if you do want to have a relationship, how to make that work if you are on the road, or how I think it might work. I mean, I do have friends who are in successful relationships on the road. Hi and welcome back. So in this video I want to talk about being single on the road. I'm going to take my glasses off and what that's like and how that all works, and things like what people do as far as dating's concerned and things like that, and the challenges and good things that are part of that lifestyle. I'm also having a coffee while I'm talking to you because I've been working online all morning, and this is just a chat. I'm going to add a few bits of nice footage into it so you don't have to stare at my face the whole time. But essentially I want to talk about something that affects a lot of people. I belong to a few solo singles groups on Facebook and things like that. And they're not all about dating. They're essentially more for people so that they don't feel so alone, I guess, so that they can get together and have a catch up and things like that. I think they're quite good like that. I don't tend to go to the gatherings, but I do enjoy the things people share in them and things like that. So some people, of course, are very lonely and desperately looking for somebody, and you are going to come across people like that. And it can be tricky when you don't have a fence around your property, I've had it once or twice where somebody who was obviously quite lost and lonely, and one of them had only just come out of a relationship, they just all of a sudden turn up and don't want to go away. And that can be quite awkward and difficult, especially if you're not interested in them and you're in a public place, so you actually really can't do a great deal apart from leave. And I have done that. I've driven off and thought, oh no, I just can't deal with this. Classic example is a guy I once met in Rotorua who was like, oh yeah, you got to go to the freewheelers and it's so great, and I had 3 women fighting over me at the last one and blah blah blah. And I was like, well, that's really not my scene. But okay. And then when I went to leave, we'd only had 2 conversations together, he came running over and said, oh, don't leave me alone. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to leave you alone because this is getting a little bit weird, So you are going to run into weird people in any way of life. And I think one thing you learn in this lifestyle as somebody, especially solo, because you haven't got a partner to back you up, is to set some good boundaries. You're going to need those. I've had situations. Once I was up north and this guy just turned up where I was parked in a car, and he sat in my doorway and didn't want to leave. And when I told him I had work to do, he was like, oh, I don't want to go away and be all alone. He obviously had some issues, and I had to be quite firm with him and say, yes, no, you need to leave because I've got things to get on with and you can't stay here. So sometimes you have to be a bit firm because you are going to run into some lost souls here and there. But all in all, most singles actually quite enjoy their independence, and it is something that grows on you. I really like the fact that I don't have to discuss where I want to go or what I want to do with somebody else. I can eat what I want to eat. I can go to bed when I feel like it. I can drive to wherever I feel like it, within reason. I need to have internet reception for work, but all in all, and you do get used to that level of freedom. So talking to quite a few different people about single life on the road, as I've done over the years, for a lot of them, I think the ideal would be that if any prospective partner actually had a vehicle of their own, whether that's male or female, whatever. People do get used to having their own space, and these spaces are small, so for 2 people to do that together in a small space takes quite a lot of cooperation and compromise. So, when you've lived on your own in a small space, doing it together is actually quite a huge thing to think about, sharing your space. Like, quite honestly, if I think about it logically, you know, say I meet somebody and wanted them to move in with me, I'd have to get rid of some stuff because all my storage areas are pretty much full. I don't have a lot of space to store anybody else's belongings and things like that. It'd just be very, very difficult because I've lived in this on my own, this truck, for about 14 or 15 years now. You know, that's quite a long time. And I have had a relationship, or more than one, in the meantime too, since I've had this truck, but we didn't live together. So, you know, they had to sort of be able to stand up on their own 2 feet. But me travelling was a big issue in the more serious one, the more long-term one of those two breaking up, because the person I met was also travelling, and then after we met, he didn't want to travel. He wanted to get a house and settle down, and I'm like, seriously, go and pay rent and all of that stuff? I've broken away from that, and I was busy doing the gypsy fairs and things like that, so I was travelling a lot, and it just didn't really work. Having a person who wants to settle down in a house and the other one doesn't, and has got a job that takes them constantly around the country, it just wasn't going to work out, really, you know. So I sort of accepted that in the end and went, okay, that's the way it is. But yeah, I think if you're going to go out with somebody, connect with somebody, meet up and grow together, you're going to have some kind of similarities in what you want out of life. I have met couples where they have a base and one of them travels in a motorhome and the other one doesn't like it, so they don't, and that works, but they still have a base together they come back to, you know. And I think that could work. Or I think, yeah, them having a vehicle of their own, really, because I know with my last partner, whenever he came to visit me, it was like having a guest. You know, he had nothing to do here. I had things to do. He didn't. He'd get really bored. It was kind of awkward, you know, when your partner is your guest all the time. After a period of time, that becomes kind of quite tricky and challenging and kind of weird, and you don't quite know how to amuse them, but you can't amuse somebody all day for days. It doesn't work. So I think finding a mutually liked way of life is quite important. I don't know how people go about dating. I mean, a lot of my clients use dating apps and things like that and try that out. I don't know if people on the road do that so much, but you do meet a lot of people. You know, that's, if you're open to that, and if you're parking in more public places, you're going to meet a lot of people, and it's not that isolated and that lonely, but it does have its challenges. If they've got a job and live in a town and you're going to travel, how much time are you actually going to spend together? Will the relationship grow? Will it really connect? Or are you both at a stage of life where you're fine with that, where you don't need to be together all the time in order to have a strong relationship? Or do you want to do something together? I think if two road life people with their own vehicles meet, I think they either need to use both their vehicles and have both their own vehicle, or they need to actually start from fresh and start with a new one that's both of theirs, because otherwise you've got one moving into the other one's vehicle, and that can be a bit weird too, because that person's already been there for a long time, and if you know, it's their space. So there are a lot of things, ins and outs of this whole dating on the road thing, that yeah, can make it a little bit more challenging than living in one place, to meet somebody who is suitable and who can handle what you do and how much you travel and things like that. I've had it mess up a couple of relationships for me because I just wasn't ready to stop. And yeah, when you don't see somebody, if you only see them once a year or something, it's pretty hard to kind of grow together as a couple. Or if you see, even if you see them every few weeks, it's always going to sort of stay like a holiday romance. You're not really going to grow the relationship into something solid. It can be fun to have a holiday romance, nothing wrong with that if that's what you want, but yeah, there are a lot of considerations that go into that. I look at sort of the single scene. I see some people who are obviously a little bit lonely and maybe still a bit nervous about the lifestyle. I see them posting like, I'm a Napier, is anybody else around, you know? So, yeah, they're still obviously not quite at that place where they just really enjoy their own space and doing their own thing. And that is something you grow into. When I was first on the road on my own, I was quite disorientated and scared and didn't know where to go and would move again and things like that. And yeah, I found it a little bit challenging because I'd come out of a long relationship and was getting used to being single as well as being on the road. And doing both of those things together can be hard. I've also met people who've lost a partner or a husband or wife, and for them it's challenging too. You know, they've always had their other half, and all of a sudden they're single and by themselves and don't quite know how that works yet, you know, and that's something they have to deal with too. But I have met some very amazing and strong people. I've met quite a few women who were widows, and they're pretty incredible people. You know, they still miss their husband or partner who's passed away, but they're also very, very capable at standing on their own 2 feet. So yeah, this whole dating thing intrigues me. I'm not prepared to personally go on those weird dating sites on the internet. It's just, my belief is if it's meant to be, it'll happen. Okay? I'm out there enough and meeting people enough that if something's meant to happen, I will meet them. It's simple as that. And I don't think it's any harder than somebody who works in one place, goes home, goes to work, goes home. You know, they're not meeting hordes of other people either. So I don't think it's any different to that. I think actually in this lifestyle, you meet more people than you would living in a house. But meeting somebody who's suitable and who wants to do what you want to do, that's the tricky bit. And that's the bit that needs to be worked out, you know. How to, yeah, find a balance with who wants to do what. So, yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on how that works and how to make that work? It interests me because I meet some pretty amazing people on the road who are single, and they're pretty incredible. They're awesome. They're having amazing lives. There's so much going for them, but they don't seem to be meeting anybody even if they want to. Some people don't want to. It's just, nah, they're quite happy on their own, and that's fine too. But yeah, I just wonder what the challenges are for people who really want to meet someone. I'm not actively looking. Like I said, if something's meant to happen, it will. I'm quite happy on my own in the meantime. That's not a problem. But yeah, how does it work for people who really want to meet somebody? How do you go about that? Do you go to more social things, rallies, things like freewheelers rallies or gatherings, or is that how that works? I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear your comments below on that. I'm quite intrigued by how people make that work. And yeah, so if you've got any ideas or suggestions to help anybody who wants to get to know someone or meet somebody while they're traveling on the road in a mobile home or caravan or whatever, yeah, please put it in the comments below. It might just help somebody. It might give them an idea or a suggestion on how to make that whole process a bit easier. Because, yeah, for a lot of people who live quite a conventional life in a house with the average job, meeting somebody who's completely footloose and fancy free and roaming around the country is probably a little bit scary too. You know, that's maybe not what they're looking for either, is to have a partner who's going to disappear all the time and take off. So, you know, there gives and give and takes from both perspectives. But yeah, it is something I'm intrigued by. So yeah, if you found it challenging or if you've got any really good ideas for people, please put it in the comments below. I do like discussion. I like making videos that are a little bit thought-provoking or bring information to people. I don't think watching my life would be that exciting for a lot of people. I spend an awful lot of time sitting at my desk working. And last night, like, I did a phone reading, so I was working till 8:30, I think. It was an extra long one because the woman needed some extra support, you know. But yeah, so my life is quite focused around that. So I probably, yeah, don't have the most exciting life when I'm doing that. My years of traveling really fast, that was kind of what happened when I was with the gypsy fairs, and even before that I did a lot of traveling. And it's actually 20 years since I first went on the road in June. You know, it's a long time. So to me it's just living, and if I feel like going somewhere, I go. Mind you, at the moment I'm not going too far because I need to get my clutch sorted. I bought a clutch plate on the internet, actually from Trade Me. It's a new one. The guy sells clutches. It's what he does, so he knew what he was talking about. And yeah, that's on his way, so that might save me a little bit of time of going to the mechanics and having to sit there and wait for something to come from Australia, which quite often happens. You know, you end up sort of with bits pulled off your truck waiting for parts. And I thought if I can organise some of the parts beforehand, hopefully it'll go a little bit quicker, because I don't like living at a mechanic's. It's just not fun. So anyway, if you've got any great ideas, suggestions, so forth, please put it in the comments below. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.